thank you for joining us today. We're really excited to have Larry and Rebecca Gifford with us today.
Thank you both for being here. We so appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's always our pleasure to speak with you. Every opportunity.
Well, as we all do with most of our conversations, because I don't call them interviews, we've already had an excellent discussion before the recording started. So.
Roll on it.
That you have to buy. We have, that's the extended version. We don't make that available.
Go to Patreon right now.
The VIPs, right?
But one of the things that we thought we would bring up is Rebecca and Larry did an excellent 3-part series called The Talk on the podcast When Life Gives You Parkinson's, which we'll put a link in the text below so that you can check that out. But there was a lot of revealing things that you all kind of put yourself out there, and so appreciate your candor about a lot of different topics. I got about 6 on my sheet of paper here, but I know there were a heck of a lot more. So, and as Larry had said in the pre-interview, Rebecca came up with this idea. So how did you come up with the idea that you wanted to do this talk?
Well, initially it was kind of a reaction to the way we used to structure the podcast versus how we had changed it, because he used to have Nikki as his co-host, and then I would kind of come in at the end and we would do like a touch base and talk about things that were going on with us, but also some of the content of the podcast. And we really enjoyed that. And then and people responded to it. And then when we shifted to me being the co-host, we kind of lost some of that candid conversation that we enjoyed. And then also we could kind of felt that it was missing from some of the content of the podcast. So I said, okay, well, we're looking at these different series. We're going to do these little mini seasons coming up. I was like, well, let's just do one where it's just us talking. There's a lot of things that have changed over recent months. And really, I think a touch base for that would be probably help. We use the podcast as to help us with communication and also help us to contribute and to express creative expression for us as well. But then we also know that other people tend to respond to when we have those kind of ordinary, quote unquote, conversations that are just us chatting. And that often they turn into, the topics become more significant or more deep as we go into the conversation. So maybe let's spend some time. There's some things that we could really touch base on and that I think I know, because I talk with care partners and people with Parkinson's, that these are kind of universal issues that are coming up and we're experiencing them. So let's normalize the conversation and put it out there and see what comes up. And we didn't know. I had a few notes and some things I wanted to kind of touch upon when we started the conversation, but we didn't know exactly where it was going to go.
Yeah, and we did it in 2 tapings.
About an hour each.
And then we'd edit it down into different episodes. And it was actually amongst the easiest guests to book.
I don't know. That might not have been easy with Henry, and his schedule.
We had to schedule time.
Yeah.
So we did. We had to set aside times when we knew we were going to have some time and space and be in a good place. And when is he on with his medication, and kind of, when can we be fully present with the conversation?
Did you have your people talk to her people, Larry?
What was the stipend? No.
Yeah, you don't have to share that with us. That's okay.
I was going to say, how many cookies?
Well, one of the themes that stood out for me, and I think you too, I don't know, we'll see, but it was the prioritization piece, and balancing all the demands.
The home life with the business life, with the Parkinson's life, with having 7, and we don't have kids, so it's a little different for us. So, and you have Henry, and then with COVID on top of that, and there's I can't imagine. Prioritization has to be, everyone's got prioritization problems, prioritization issues on top of that. So I'm curious how you guys have dealt with it.
Well, we're trying to take it head on. I have a problem with my prioritization, and it can come across as if I don't value the relationship to the family as much as I do my work or my advocacy. So I really have to check myself and make sure that I'm putting the same amount of energy and effort, or quality over quantity if it has to be, with the family, because the family is super important to me, and I put myself first, my health, and then family, and then the job, because that's, pays the bills, and then advocacy, which is what in my heart, and and then then everything else, and so it's hard. And there's, I don't know that there's I think balance is a moment to moment thing, kind of like Parkinson's. You don't know if you stand up and you're going to walk, if you're going to fall or not.
Yeah, it changes day to day. It's how do you make that happen? How do you make that work? What does that look like? And I don't know that there's an endpoint or a solution, or this is how you do it. I don't think anybody can say that. It's every family is different. Everybody's Parkinson's is different. Every day is different regarding what, we're all busy people. So we know it's like every day looks different as far as what activities you're doing, looks different as far as how he's feeling, how I'm feeling, how Henry's feeling, right? And then and then you've got these overarching priorities that you're trying to act out and that inform your choices. But that can be, depending on the day and how everybody's doing, can be really hard. And some days don't go as well. And then you pick yourself up and try it again the next day, right? There's really no other way to go about it, I guess. It's just being malleable and forgiving of yourself.
Well, and then also understanding that in my head, prioritization of work also means I prioritize my family, because work is how we make money to do family, but I enjoy my work. And so, and for them, I'm just on the computer. Whether I'm doing advocacy or whether I'm doing
He's not with
work,
us.
I'm not with them.
Right.
So I haven't prioritized them. But
well, it can appear that way.
Right.
Yeah, and feel that way.
And so I have to be conscious of the nonverbals that I'm making as well.
Right. It's complicated.
It is very complicated, and maybe that might be one of you said the response to the episodes has been overwhelming, or not overwhelming, just a volume of people, reaching out to you. And I would say that might be one of the things, because I don't know that we talk about it enough. Actually, Karl and I are going to do a talk on Monday for a organization, and we called it The Pursuit of Balance, because I don't think that we ever grab it. We're always pursuing it and trying to figure out how to balance all those things.
Your mind, body, and spirit, and
the self-care. That self-care piece.
Oh my gosh.
If there's no self-care, then how can you do the rest? I tell Karl that all the time. We have to make self-care the priority. Otherwise, nothing gets done. It's everything starts. That's the foundation that you build all the rest of the things that you want to do. And even without Parkinson's, I don't know that anybody truly finds the balance. I think you're right, Rebecca. It's always in motion. There's always this.
It's juggling.
Yeah, juggling or shifting the pieces, I guess, on the board to make
plate spinning. And I like that a lot. The pursuit of balance, because as long as you know that's your intention, then you'll always be a little closer to it than if it's not, right? So you're always kind of you're always aware of things that if you have that as your intention, you're going to be more quickly aware of when things get off balance and where you need to kind of adjust. So I guess I like that a lot. Pursuit of balance. I'm going to use that, by the way. I'll give you credit.
It's a trademark.
Stipend? No, I'm just it's a caregiver talk. I'm writing it down, Rebecca. You and I are going to work on that one.
Love it.
And I think, Larry, you're right. When you're in the business of doing tech stuff, because that's where we land with a lot of our stuff, minus the talkings and reaching out. Yeah, it doesn't look like we're face down and we're on the keyboard all the time, but it and it's so important to get up and move away, because I think I will say for myself, it getting away allows me to come back and be better. And I think sometimes too we get so caught up into the typing of our what we want to say and the passion that we have that sometimes we don't verbalize it, and that communication piece may not be as strong as it should be. And I think that is very difficult. And
communication is so important, right? That's it always comes back to that. Like all these conversations that I have with care partners and whatnot, it always comes back to what's that communication piece. And communication is always part of a potential solution. It's always a part of refinding balance. It's always a part of self-awareness. It's always a part of expressing yourself to your partner and the people around you that you need to, your needs or, whatever. And it's so, and with Parkinson's, it becomes more challenging as with the progression, right? It's just, we're constantly having to adjust and rethink and go, whoop, okay, maybe not a good time, or I need to choose different language, or it's just this constant changing, being flexible, forgiving yourself when you have a bad communication day. Yesterday was not our greatest communication day.
It must be spreading to say,
right? So okay, well, let's do it again tomorrow. And what can we fix? And as long as we're friends at the end of the day, right? And partners at the end of the day, then we can take a breath and move forward. But it's, that's a tough one. It really is. It's so critical to everything, but it's more challenging as every day passes, right?
Is retrograde happening right now?
No, we're over retrograde.
Yeah, we're not in it right now. I know we can't use that as an excuse. I know. I wish I knew.
Darn.
Maybe there's some residual stuff out there. I don't know.
Something
like yesterday
somewhere, I'm sure.
Well, and I hear you on the trouble with. I think that's something that I've noticed with as Karl's Parkinson's has progressed, although it's albeit very slow. The communication piece, sometimes, I do have to cue and check in more. Like, hey, tell me how you're feeling. What's going on? When I think it used to be, as we were talking pre-interview, there's some people who talk all the time and share all the time. And I don't know that disconnect, that cueing piece is really hard. I think it's one of those non-motor things non-motor thingies that doesn't get talked about nearly enough.
No, and I need a lot of cues for things. I feel as the longer I am dealing with Parkinson's, the less I am aware of the subtleties of life.
The
nuance of communication and nonverbal. And like yesterday, I looked at her and I'm like, or 2 days ago, you're standing at the kitchen counter and I was doing dishes and I just looked at her and I got, all right, I'm supposed to ask you a question and I don't know what question I'm supposed to ask, but there's something that you want to say. So if you'd like to share that'd be awesome.
I'm picking up, there is a nuance there somewhere. I don't know what it is.
I'm stealing that, Larry. You should steal that too.
Well, and communication is about, a lot of it, and just that awareness piece is, and the nuances is about being able to pay attention to a lot of things at the same time and take in lots of different stimuli and visual information and energetic information all at the same time. And it's not so easy for folks with Parkinson's, right? You can kind of focus on one or two things at a time, usually just one. And it's a luxury in this day and age to be able to have to just focus on one thing. But that's all he can do sometimes. So I have to kind of, kind of go in the bubble say, hello, you're in a bubble, but we need you outside the bubble. Can you pay attention to this over here for a minute? And some days I do that more kindly than others, more patiently than others, right?
And a lot of times that happens either on the weekend or at the end of the day, where I'm like, okay, I just have to write one more email. And then she's like,
An hour later.
she's like, are you done with your email? I'm like, oh, I
Just
said
throw
20
it back
minutes. She goes, it's been an hour. I'm like, well, I'm almost done.
That brings along the same lines. Not getting into couples counseling, but it seems to me like there's the element, the added element of you didn't tell me, well, you didn't ask. Well,
Yeah.
I can't ask you everything. It's like you asked me 20 questions. Well, which way is it? Too many questions, or why didn't you ask me? I mean, it's well, that's.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And day to day, hour to hour, that can change, like your tolerance level and your ability to focus on that. And how many questions can you take? And that number is going to change every day, right? That's a tough one.
And then some days you're just tired. You're like, I really don't feel like asking
I can't even do
one
one.
more
Yeah.
question. Poking the bubble one more time. I'm just gonna go over here and read my email. read the paper. I'm gonna read the paper.
Yeah.
So as we asked Dr. Oken, when is it nagging and when is it cueing? And that's I think that's a question that varies day to day.
Oh no,
Yes.
Rebecca never nags.
And it's perfect.
And to your
I'm
point,
not.
Carl, I can say something, I can say it the exact same way with the exact same tone one day, and then the next day you will have two very different reactions to it on either day, depending on where you are in your med cycle, depending on what kind of sleep did you get? Were you active in your sleep? You know, how much all of that. It just your mood. I mean, the mood disorders are for real with Parkinson's. So that it affects all of that. So communication is this balance is this moving target, right?
One day,
So in defense of care partners and family members who will be read as nagging, said it to you yesterday and you were perfectly okay with it. Wasn't nagging yesterday, nagging today. Doesn't know what to do with it.
you're grateful for it one day, and the next day you're like, why are you so mad at me?
and we're done.
So with us, it just requires, you hear the talk about patience and yes, patience, love, all of that stuff. I believe forgiveness is a huge part of that, just every day of just that, forgive yourself, forgive the other person involved, and be able to kind of move through it and move on. And that's resilience. You can't, and managing a relationship and maintaining a relationship, you have to be able to forgive with a whole heart, genuinely, and usually quickly, and just kind of move forward, right?
Well, and forgiveness and the vulnerability, which we talked about earlier, and kindness, like it's you were partners before Parkinson's, you're still partners now, you're still a team. It's really hard sometimes to and I think the past creeps in sometimes and taints, even small little tiny things, and it does put this cloud over it. But then, like you said, at the end of the day, you're friends, you're partners, you're together, and
and it doesn't and it accentuates things when you work together, live together, and care for our soulmates, and it's and when you live together, all those you're always we're kind of connected at the hip, and so sometimes you can get kind of overdose of each other, and spending so much time together sometimes it's great, but then also it's easy to
tone. Intonation.
Oh, yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, well, because we used to not see each other so much during the day, and then with COVID, we were both working from home all the time. And for a while, Henry was with us. Thank goodness he was able to go back to school. So that gave us a bit more quiet time. But there's, most of our days, we are not in the same room. We're working in separate rooms, but there's always just kind of that presence. And there are things where we do have to work together. So you're always, you're never in the house alone. You never, right? You never, and I'm an introvert, I need alone time. And so I can't remember the last time I was 100% alone in the house, or I think I had to leave the house to be 100% alone. And then you're out in the world with other people, right? So after a while, that does, I don't care what kind of relationship you have, that is going to wear on you. Yeah. And like you guys do, you have joint projects. And then, so you have to kind of, if it's not happening that day, you got to kind of muster it, because that's what you got to do that day, right? And
she likes to work ahead.
What?
What
is that? That's a whole nother conversation.
Well, Virgo.
Like, it's not due till next week. What are we doing?
I like mustard and ketchup. Yeah.
Mustard. You didn't like my muster? I like that word, muster.
Mustard and ketchup. Yeah.
Right. Mustard
And then
with
ketchup.
Yeah. I like it.
That was part of our discussion 2 days
I
ago.
relish that.
Bingo.
May I be excused? May I be excused?
It takes us to improvisation.
Well, I don't even know where to go for that.
Sorry, we threw you off.
Barbecue. It's not even lunchtime there, but
Yeah. Well, we should stop being hot dogs and let's get back to serious business.
Well, I guess that leads to the next part, which is laughter, because we've been doing it the entire time. These are difficult topics, but we've all been laughing. I think one out of the camaraderie of understanding that we're not alone, and the humor in it all, and I think that gets us through a lot of things. Where when it is tough, we were talking about loss earlier. We were talking about some of the tough times with COVID and losing friends and family, and I think the laughter is what kind of
Gets you through
it. It's not laughing at the situation, but kind of laughing at looking back and laughing at the sometimes the ridiculousness of the whole situation.
I think that and finding other things in your life to focus on as well, that you still have, and you can still
the little things,
that you can still appreciate, that maybe weren't so little, that you didn't notice how important they were until now, and you can appreciate. I think that's what Parkinson's has taught me a lot, and I'm sure it's taught you the same, similar. What have you seen? What have you noticed, Larry?
Yeah, well, I think that it forces you to be in each moment, because for me, I used to, my head was thinking 4 steps down as I was doing, like I was trying to multitask, which doesn't exist anymore. And so I found that if I try to think too far ahead, I lose my focus on the here and now, and then I'm not present for anybody. And so I found trying to be in that present moment and not worrying about, I haven't prepared for this or that next week, but I know what I have to do today. And if I can get through today, then I'll figure out tomorrow.
Well, and then if you extrapolate that out to emotional health and self-care, that's a big part of your self-care as well. So that, and I know it is for you guys as well, just kind of, being in that present moment, embracing whatever this present moment brings is a huge part of you managing your Parkinson's, but also kind of the emotional complications that come with that.
And taking practical steps to assist you in your in your emotional well-being and your physical well-being. Like, raise your hand if you get exhausted during the day. Yay, I do. So I love naps. And they say you need 8 hours of sleep a night. Well, you don't need 8 hours of sleep a night. You need 8 hours of sleep a day. So if you get 4 hours here and 2 hours here and an hour there, it's okay, as long as it adds up to around 8 hours. I'm not quite there yet, but it's sleep is elusive. But like, I was losing energy in the morning before I was doing anything at all. I found out from an occupational therapist. So I'm like, I don't want to give up having my family as a focus, having me as a focus, and doing my advocacy and doing my job, but I don't want to be so exhausted. She's like, okay, so let's look at your day.
Right.
And so we analyzed what I was doing. And like, in the shower, I'm standing up, close my eyes, holding onto the wall, trying to shampoo. Like, she's like, why? Think of the energy you're expending just standing in the shower trying to shampoo your hair. Get a shower chair. I'm like, not 90, but I love a shower chair now. I don't have to think about anything. I don't
Embrace the shower chair.
falling down.
Right.
I just sit there and let it. It's so much easier. I don't have to think about it, and I reserve that energy for something that I want to do.
So the lesson from Parkinson's is again, extrapolate that out. It's a bigger life lesson of energy conservation, the prioritizing, the kind of saving up and using the energy in the things that you find important, the things that fill your cup, and then learning other places where you can kind of shave energy off.
Right.
And you can interpret that a myriad of ways. It can be boundaries. It can be choosing more carefully, discerning more carefully who you have in your life, and making sure that there are people who help to fill your cup and support you. It could just be how you spend your time. It could be exercise, all of those things. He was forced, and we were forced, since we all have Parkinson's, to think about how all of those moments affect our energy, our well-being, and really focus in on every little detail. And how does that feed our family in every way, right? And how does it feed what we want to bring to the world and how we want to contribute?
You're reminding me of spoon theory, which I've heard from other disease communities, where they, so many spoons per day. How are you going to spend your spoon? And
you want to spend one of those spoons washing your hair? No. No, I want to save it for
the important, right?
Yeah. For Henry time or Rebecca time, mom time, Rebecca time.
Or advocacy
or
whatever's important that day.
Well, and that reminds me of like in the past when I traveled on occasion. In the old days when I traveled,
we're trying to get back to the old days.
But on occasion, my pills would wear out, and it would be on a long walk through the airport, and trying to and maybe my pills would wear out at that time of the day. It was either possibly late for the airline to get on the plane, or ask for assistance, and I didn't think I was at one point I was a little too proud to ask for assistance, but it was available, so I took advantage of it, and it actually saved me time, it saved my energy, and
anytime you go into an airport and you have Parkinson's, request help. Just do it.
Yeah,
it's a big building. You have to do a lot of walking in. Just preserve your energy, because
travel is hard anyway.
It's exhausting. It's
get assistance with your bags. It helps the folks at the airport who need income, and it helps you get what you need to do. I say that for caregivers. Don't try to fight with all those bags or anything. Just get somebody to help you out. That's what they're there for. And
it lowers your stress, that's for sure.
Yeah, it completely does. And the same goes for any accommodations, whether you go to the store or whether you go, whatever you need. It's not a less than, it's a plus. Like you said, it's where are you going to expend your energy? Are you going to try to walk around the Wegmans and do the shopping? Or why don't you just get the motorized cart and use it? I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
But stigma is a big issue that we're all dealing with, and stigma around the world is different for each person with Parkinson's, obviously depending on your community. But that's a stigma thing. That's, especially I can only speak for men because I'm a man, and I can't really speak for all men, but I can speak for myself. Taking that, getting the handicap placard, that was a blow. I love it now, but like it just hurt to get it. Like I don't want to be handicapped. And then try taking the extra, the scooter at the airport. Like I'm like, I don't want to be a burden, and I don't want to be less than. But you know what? I do have issues, and these services are available for me. Why don't I take advantage of them? It's because I'm afraid of how I'll be seen. Well, now I just don't give a. Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't either.
I don't either.
Yeah. When you see the benefit of it, as we've taken advantage of it, and you see the benefit of it, and you see that he travels better and that he's happier to go places because we have the placard, and he doesn't have to walk so far in a parking lot, and right, all of those benefits, they can seem really small, but they're actually improving his quality of life.
Exactly.
And it's an opportunity to have a teaching moment. If somebody come up and ask why? Or questions, then it's an opportunity.
And you're an ambassador to Parkinson's. You're ambassador to Parkinson's to explain why. There's such a.
You shouldn't have to explain.
You shouldn't have to explain. But there's an education breakdown with Parkinson's and people with. Oh, well, I have Parkinson's. I thought only Michael J. Fox had Parkinson's. No, people,
Right.
other people, other
He
people.
just shakes a little bit, right? Yeah.
But it's amazing the disconnect with people understand what Parkinson's is, and the dyskinesia isn't Parkinson's. It's the medication itself. But Parkinson's affects everyone differently,
and the kindness moments that we've had.
That's some wonderful moments.
Yeah, wonderful moments where people just totally unprovoked do kind things, like give them a bottle of water, or ask if we need help, or
I had a cab driver, a couple cab drivers who were expecting a big tip and a long trip, and it was just around the block to get someplace, and I just explained. I have Parkinson's. I just need to get to the hotel. I turned off around the block, and they said, first was that it was like I'm expecting a big tip, and I'm upset that you're not going to like from New York to Atlantic City. I'm just going around the block. Which is a big, and I'm sure New York to Atlantic City is a big tip for them. But once I explained my theory about life in Parkinson's. Having Parkinson's at a young age, he goes. He got out of the car and hugged me, and it was Larry. And he said, next time you're in New York, give me a call and I'll pick you up. So so it went from that kind of thing. Can really, if you educate people, people really do want to help you, and it makes them feel good, and it helps you.
And then you have that nice moment, connection, and memory, and. Yeah, obviously affecting for you. Opportunities.
Yes.
Well, speaking of our opportunities, before we close out, Larry, I did want to give you a moment to talk about the new project you just told us about the Spark.
Oh, sure, yeah. So the Spark is the new international symbol for Parkinson's. The PD Avengers have 80 some organizations that are partners, and for the last year, we've been developing this new icon for Parkinson's awareness and urgency and advocacy. And it's like a lightning bolt. It's a little orangey, but it's meant to be representative of the dopamine charge in your brain and the spark of revolution, of an advocacy, mission, of the spark of conversation with people about Parkinson's, and really build the urgency around wellness, advocacy, and research around the world. And so we're super excited. We've got 83 countries involved. We have over 80 organizations. We have thousands of people, and hopefully more and more people show up. It's you can download the assets for free, so you can create your own Spark like that. What you see behind us is just sort of a general World Parkinson's Day Spark, but we've got a whole set of like filters and formats that you can play with, and drawings and sketches, or you can do your own. So just go to worldparkinsonsday.com and you can download the assets for free. Learn more about
Awesome.
it.
That's great.
Fantastic. And World Parkinson Day is April 11th.
April 11th.
Well,
But
coming up.
the site will be live 24/7, 365.
Yay.
Wow, great.
So the spark will live beyond World Parkinson's Day.
Wonderful.
Awesome. Well, thank you both for being the spark in our day
Yes.
and in the community and all the work that you do. Both
Yeah.
of you tremendously appreciate all your efforts and energy and care and compassion for the community as well. You're an inspiration
Yes,
to
you,
us,
yes, you are.
and I know many others as well.
Well,
Thank you. And you're an inspiration to us as
yeah,
well.
you have blazed the trail. We're just following your footsteps.
That's very kind. You're creating a lot of new roads that we've never touched. So thank you for doing.
All right,
We're
let's
happy
go
to
do it
walk with
together.
you hand. Happy to walk with you hand in hand. To
Awesome. Yeah.
Yay.
raise awareness.
And I have like 50 more questions that we never got to. So
Stay tuned. There might be more.
Part 2 of the talk.
And we'll make sure we put all those links in the
Thank you.
text
Yeah,
below.
yeah,
So
yeah.
and promote it out for you. So thank you again, and